We're talking another fever dream of a film today, 1977's House, which has been...
It's a Japanese movie.
Yes, it is. It's as Japanese movie as you can possibly get as far as horror films are concerned.
It's not a horror movie.
It has actually been called the end of traditional Japanese cinema because of the completely bizarre, off-the-wall nature of this film. I have a feeling...
It is bizarre and off the wall. And if you like movies that fit that description, you would love this movie.
I have a feeling Gene hates this film, but let's find out for real. Gene, where are you at with House?
Yeah, this movie is like we just said, it's bizarre, off the wall. It's weird. It doesn't really follow any type of logical constructs. It's just it kind of just exists in its own alternate reality. Yeah, it's just really, really weird. But I don't even know where to even start. How do you even start? It's
the basic...
In a conventional sense, this movie is just abysmal. It's not even a movie. There's nothing there, really. There's nothing going on. But on the other sense, it is so different, and it's so just crazy. And it's just like, could it be classified as even brilliant?
Yes.
You know, so some people might look at it, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. It's so different, and it's so different than our Western kind of movies that we're so used to. Yeah, it just might be refreshing. The movie might even, be a breath of fresh air for you. Yeah, it's really, I would suggest, you had to get it on Criterion Channel. I mean, Criterion is, so, but you can get it for free for a week. And then you'll probably end up keeping it because they have, like, cool movies. But that you really don't find any other place. Like this one. But, House is like... There's nowhere to go with this thing. It's just...
a little bit at a loss for words. The director, Nobuhiko Obayashi, the backstory kind of on House is he had been trying to get it together for many years. Toho Studios.
Yeah, because he was on drugs, wasn't he?
No. The basic idea is he had spoken to children about what scares them, what would they think is cool in a movie, things like that. And so a lot of the sequences in the film, and one of the reasons...
scary cats.
One of the reasons I think it is so completely bizarre and unstructured is it's really just little set pieces that he heard from children, his own 10-year-old daughter being one of the primary drivers of scenes like, oh, the evil mirror with the evil lady in the mirror, and then the mirror cracks, and then, oh, what if a watermelon was put in a well, and then when you pull it up, it's a severed head floating around. And so it's really...
that's in the movie.
It's really this bizarre collection of sequences.
Yeah, and the severed head talks and laughs.
Yeah.
And flies through the air and bites somebody in the butt.
Yep. But the beginning part of it is just this really off-putting, wacky Japanese schoolgirls who are planning this trip. And
there's 7 schoolgirls planning to go to their grandma's house or something.
It's the aunt's house.
Yeah, the aunt's house. Yeah, lives up in some big house out in the country. And so they have to travel there, 7 of them. And of the 7 of them, they have different names. Of course, everyone has a name, right? Roger's right across the table. That's his name. But no, it reminded me of the Spice Girls because, they had different names. It was like there's Sporty Spice. What's another one of them, Roger?
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
Scary. Scary Spice.
Oh, there's a Scary Spice, yeah. But these girls have those kind of names. Like one of them is called Gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Another one, they say she's a little fat, but she's not really fat. But they call her Mac. Mm-hmm. And then there's another one. What is it? There's a smart one, and then she has
Prof.
Prof, yeah. Prof, she wears glasses.
My favorite, of course, is Kung Fu.
The coolest one ever is Kung Fu. And Like they try to open this refrigerator door, right? Right? It was a
It
refrigerator.
was like a closet or
yeah,
something.
they can't open this closet. So Kung Fu comes along, and then her name's Kung Fu, right? So she knows Kung Fu. And so she flies through the air and she just beats the hell out of this door and it opens.
Well, but I like it too because
Yeah.
then you have like this bizarre early 70s martial arts music kicking in when she does any of her
Yeah,
kung
and then
fu.
later on in the movie, she's in a fight with these animated fire logs.
Right.
And there's this music going on and she's just beating the hell out of flying logs that are flying through the air, and and she kicks them and then they fly and then and she wins.
Well, but the end of that too is, oh, it must have been my imagination. Do you remember that line? And I was like, when I saw that,
No, Roger, I don't remember.
I was
that
like,
line.
oh, this is where the children's influence that the director was talking to comes in. Oh, it was just my imagination. Let's just go on about with the rest of our day, even though I just had to battle these flying logs that were on fire.
Logs. Yeah, and she wins.
And it's just stuff that just happens out of nowhere. It doesn't make any narrative sense, except the house is kind of feeding off of their life force sort of thing. But it's just completely
and then
bizarre.
as the girls get knocked off one by one, Mac is of course the first one to go, but the aunt gets stronger because she first shows up. She's in like wheelchair, she can't walk, and then all of a sudden Mac disappears. It's like, oh, I have energy, and she walks.
She can walk. She just gets up. They've been pushing her around in the wheelchair for a while, and then she just stands
she
up.
just stands up and walks. Yeah.
Well, and then at one point, she just, for no reason at all, climbs into the refrigerator and disappears.
I think this happened for no reason.
Right.
You can't explain it.
That's the beauty of this film. We talked about Jigoku yet last week, which was a more traditional, straightforward kind of horror film from Japan. This one is,
I don't know if I'd call that movie traditional.
well, but you had the seriousness aspect of it and things like that. And one of the things where this film was kind of deemed the end of traditional Japanese cinema is all the rules are off with this
There's no
with
rules
House,
in this movie.
right? There
no
isn't.
rules at all.
It's completely bizarre, and anarchy reigns in this film. And that was way outside of what the traditional Japanese filmmaking was. And so the studio, Toho, they were actually shocked when this movie was a smash hit. And why was it a smash hit? The teen crowd went to see it, right? And so it really resonated with teenagers who had kind of turned their back on the traditional Japanese cinema. They weren't going to see Kurosawa's, Seven Samurai or whatever. But this thing suddenly just exploded. And so Toho was actually a little upset that this movie had made so much money because they were like, this is outside the realm.
There you go again. A small horror movie making a ton of money. We've never heard that before.
Right. Well,
but I like this movie. Here, did I just say I like this
you
movie?
did.
What did
Dun,
I just
dun,
say?
dun.
So because I like how it's the use of color and set pieces. It's really it's like oversaturated with color. It's like too much color. Like there's not that much color in the world. But if you look at this movie, there's just so much vibrant color. In a way, it reminded me of the movie Pearl, which was just oversaturated with color as well. But so it's done on definitely a purposeful point. You can tell the director went way out of his way to make this movie more colorful.
Right. Well, when I'm watching it, I certainly could compare this to a film like Wizard of Oz as far as the use of color and sets, because once they get to the house, it's a set. It clearly looks like a set. The trees outside clearly are not real.
Well, the whole thing is a set.
Right.
Like when they're walking through the village, and the whole thing, the sky parts are sets. Everything's a set.
Yeah. There's a lot of different film techniques used in here, and a lot of backdrops. It's not a real backdrop. It's not a real sky. We've created the sky and can manipulate it and things like that. The other movie, and I don't know if you picked up this vibe at all, but another movie it reminds me of is Evil Dead 2, where random things just kind of happen. And I think
there's lots of random things happening in this movie.
Yes.
It is all random.
And so it would not surprise me if Sam Raimi had seen this movie somehow and was like, oh, yeah, I kind of like this vibe of just chaos that's going on, and kind of that influenced him a little bit. Maybe not, but I did get that vibe. I got a Wizard of Oz vibe, and I got an Evil Dead 2 vibe from this film. But I do think its inventiveness and the fact that it's just very chaotic and just very strange. Nobody's acting normal in this film.
No, it's not normal.
And there's even some really bizarre slapstick comedy in this where there's this guy, his name's like Togo, and he's supposedly the knight in shining armor who's going to save all the girls, but he never gets there. But he
and there's this weird
the bucket.
guy who is managing this little outdoor little farmer's market thing.
Right.
Yeah, he's really weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and
He
he's
has a head that looks like a pumpkin
well, and he almost
or a watermelon.
he
His head
reminds
looks like a watermelon.
he reminds me a little bit of a traditional horror film, right, where you stop to get gas and it's the creepy guy telling you not to go somewhere. He kind of reminded me of something like that.
Yeah,
where-
the Criterion Channel, I don't know if the guys at Criterion Channel have to watch these movies, but there's a little blurb before you start the movie about it, so I read it, and it compared. You can tell that the guy didn't know what to write. Is this movie, is it insightful? The guy's going on, is it insightful, or is it kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode where, they're the Shaggy and they get into wacky adventures. Yeah, like it's part of it is like a Scooby-Doo episode. It's just like nothing makes sense in it. You think it does, but nothing makes sense. It's just kind of
yeah, but
cats with flashing eyes and
Shaggy and Scooby aren't getting killed though in the Scooby-Doo adventures.
yeah, it's I don't know where to go. I think it deserves a shot, but you have to get Criterion Channel. But again, you can do it for free. If you want looking for something completely different, which I think is something good to be said about that. I think it's good to just break free of the traditional Hollywood format and just look at something completely different, look at something foreign even, and just see what's out there.
Right. I do think, yeah, Gene is right. It is definitely a film that people who claim to have seen everything, well, you haven't seen this before.
You haven't seen this
and
one.
so definitely understand going in, it is not a coherent narrative by any means. It is not structured like any film you've ever seen before. Well, it's barely structured at all, really. Random things happen for no reason. There's this one character I mentioned earlier. His name's like Togo. They keep waiting for him to show up and save them all. But there's this weird sequence where he gets a bucket stuck on him and he's bouncing down the stairs. So there's like this weird slapstick element that's just completely bizarre.
Weird.
The sets and everything, it's really a movie that kind of keeps you off balance because nothing is real. There's a piano that eats one of the girls, a cat that's possessed and evil.
Possessed cat, yeah.
Causes all sorts of harm. Really a weird
But is it
movie.
really a cat?
Well, she had
something else?
the aunt or the entity that is the aunt had sent that cat because remember Gorgeous finds that cat and the cat kind of leads her to the house because the cat then totally curls up with the aunt and is like, oh, I sent Blanche, which is the cat's name, to find you, blah, blah, blah. Because she's been feeding off of Life Force for a long time because her whole game was she was a piano teacher. And so the children from the village would come up, get piano lessons, but she would be feeding off their Life Force, or the house would be.
Yeah.
And then there's no more children now because she's eaten them all. The house has eaten them all. It also could be reminiscent of a film like Rocky Horror Picture Show in that it's just so different and bizarre. I think that's one of the reasons this really gained a huge cult following in the United States is because it is
This movie?
It is one of those films that fits in there with like a Rocky Horror.
I've never heard of this
or
movie
even
before
The
we
Room.
reviewed it.
Well-
and you had a crazy idea. We should review this. I was like, what?
Well, because you were you wanted to maybe go down the road of more fever dream movies.
Yeah, like, this would be it for that idea.
No more. But anything else to say about
No,
House?
there's nothing else to say.
I think doing some research into the backstory of the creation of this film is really will give you an additional level of respect for this film and what's going on. I really like this director and how he just wanted to do something different, and he did, even though the studio was aghast at what he did, and then even more aghast when it made a ton of money. And from House, you ended up with a lot of other really bizarre Japanese horror / fantasy films going forward. And so definitely appreciate this director and his willingness to take a risk, and I'm glad it paid off for him.
Yeah. I will have to say there is like nudity in this movie. And again, like I've said this before, but that it doesn't really add a lot to the horror element. You know, I don't even know why it's in there, because it doesn't add anything. It doesn't, it could be totally removed and it doesn't take away from the movie at all. So I would
say it's extremely brief nudity, though.
Yeah, no, there's some scenes where we're lingering a little bit. So
what scene was that?
This woman in the water. She's swimming in the water. She's naked in the water for a while.
When she dissolves.
Yeah, kind of dissolves. Yeah, and it's fun looking at the special effects. I mean, bless their heart, they're trying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But again, I just throw that in there. It's just whenever I see nudity in horror movies, it's just like, oh, I roll my eyes.
Yeah, Gene and I differ on that. I'm okay with it.
It's just like, look, what are you doing?
If it's an 80s slasher, I know there's going to be some nudity on display.
Yeah, don't get me started on
But
that.
Gene's right. Very few movies absolutely require nudity. But some do. Anyway, definitely see House if you've decided you've seen everything that could possibly be seen. You haven't seen something like this before. Gene, what are we doing next week?
Oh, we have no idea. But we're not doing something like this, that's for sure.
Are we still supposed to go see Alien Romulus, even though I don't want to see it?
Yeah. There's a certain people out there who think it's going to be great. I am extremely skeptical, however. So, but I think it's worth a look. So I don't think it opens till later this month.
Is it the 15th or whatever that opens? I watched Tarot last night because it's streaming on Netflix. Have you seen that thing?
No.
They discover this random tarot deck and they give this reading, and of course whatever your reading is how you end up dying. It is the most generic thing ever.
Or we could watch a more conventional movie that's good, like we haven't done the others.
Yeah, we could maybe do that. Anyway,
there's lots of stuff
as usual. We have no idea what we're going to do next week, but I can guarantee you it will be something.
It will be something.
Will probably not be a Japanese fever dream movie.
No, it will not.
All right, go check out House if you can. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.